Hello and welcome. I am Sylvia Hartman, and I am a heretical creative writer. Hello, Sylvia, shouts the room back at me. I am here today to, well, to tell a story. And let's begin at the beginning, because that's always a good place to start any kind of story. I'm 63 years old as I am recording this video, and I've been writing for 60 years now. I'm not going to even go into it. Just have it be known that I've been writing for 60 years. That's quite a bit of experience if we think about it. It's quite stunning to me that I've been a writer for 6 decades. You go through life like a boat on a river, and sometimes you forget how far you've come. But really, where my story as a creative writer begins, and as a heretical creative writer begins, is when I was 11 years old, and I was at a school that in Germany is designed to take you to A levels and then to university beyond. And on this particular day, we were set to write a composition in English. This is a German school. A composition in English and write a story. And I remember, even though this is over 50 years ago, what happened there. As I'm looking down at the paper with the pencil in my hand, or rather the fountain pen, we were writing with fountain pens, I wondered what story I should tell. And my young aspect was a huge science fiction fan, loved science fiction. So she decided to write a science fiction story for Journey to the Moon, and on the moon she finds an alien spaceship and amazing things happen. And what happened in the course of that story was that the aspect was transported into this story. She was living the story. It was like a lucid dream. She really was on the moon, completely unaware of what she was writing down, as fast as she could. And this test lasted for about, I don't know, an hour, I guess. Could have been 2 back in the day. And no time passed at all as these exciting events were unfolding, and she was living this story and wrote it down. And so when the bell went, she had 8 or more pages of tightly spaced writing to hand to the teacher, when the other children had barely managed a couple of paragraphs in that time. It was an amazing experience, an absolutely amazing experience. My aspect was buzzing on the way home, thinking about the story, thinking about how amazing it was to enter into this other realm and have these full lucid experiences there and write it down. That's just so amazing. She was extremely excited about it. There's nobody to tell about such things at the time. And then so a week or so went by, and the teacher brought the marked or graded stories back, handed everybody's story out apart from mine. And the 11-year-old sitting there, and so the guy is walking up. This is a big guy, over 6 foot, is sort of stomping up this wooden classroom floor. You can feel the vibrations in the desk under your hand. He's got this weird look on his face, and then he throws my submission sheets on the desk in front of me and they are absolutely covered with red. So much red you could hardly see my writing anymore. And then he leant on the desk and bent forward and looked down at me and said, "I'm going to teach you a lesson today. You think you're clever, don't you? Well, you've made 87 spelling mistakes and 35 grammar mistakes, and therefore this is an E minus, or as it was in Germany back in the day, a 6. The worst kind of mark you can possibly get. An E minus, you wouldn't even get an E minus if you handed in a blank sheet, you would have just gotten an E. But I managed to get an E minus for my creative writing experience. And I can tune into that now, what happened there. There was this really interesting ice-cold energy rising up inside of me. And I was looking at this grown guy who was staring down at me. This little weasel who had absolutely no idea of creative processes, or perhaps he had hoped to have such a thing one day, and he knew that he never ever would. And he shrank before me. He shrank before me as I held his eyes. And I thought, oh my God, ha, you know nothing of creativity. I can't describe this as anger or rage, because it wasn't. It was really ice cool, clear blue, calm, just a sheer force inside of me, like a sword. And eventually he just crumbled and shook his head and walked away. And there was my story on the desk, covered in red. And this led to a very interesting attitude that I have to creativity. And it basically is this: that people who are not creative and don't understand creativity, real creativity, this movement into this other realm that opens up and you step inside, and there you are. And it is an experience. It's real. You are having the emotions, you are having the sensations, all 6 senses present. Oh, what a joy that is. What a power that is. What a power that is. You might have seen this quote that makes the round, you know, "He who writes is young every day," which is given to Imhotep from 6,000 years ago or whatever. And it is that. If you are a true creative, you can do that thing. You can do that thing to open the gates to another dimension that human beings can step into, and then they live there. And you can bring back stories, you can bring back songs, you can bring back paintings, you can bring back sculptures, you can bring back philosophies and religions. That's creativity. That's the realm of creativity. And somebody who doesn't know that, or does not know how to enter into that, is in no position to judge my work, my words, my experiences, my writings. And that's it. This has infused my work over my lifetime. It's infused all parts of it. I wrote an extraordinary story, beautiful story, amazing story, and had an amazing experience. I placed the words in the order and sequence as I saw fit. Even as an 11-year-old, I hold up the right for any artist at any time, anywhere, absolutely unconditionally, to place their colors exactly where they want to place them on a canvas, to have their hammer blows create a marble sculpture exactly how they want to create it, to write down the notes of a symphony on notepaper exactly how they want to translate what they're hearing in their head onto that paper. And for a writer to write down the words as they would say them in exactly the same way. Now, writing is very curious amongst all the art forms that it is curated somehow. You would never say to a creative painter, okay, now we take somebody who isn't a creative painter and we give them a bucket of emulsion and they get to slop the emulsion over this painting to somehow make it better. I mean, the very idea is preposterous. What a crazy thought is that? So why is that allowed in writing? Why is that allowed in writing? That my voice isn't being good enough, or my words aren't being good enough, and somebody who isn't me and didn't have my experiences comes along with a red pen and marks it, and then counts up the grammar mistakes and the spelling mistakes and gives it an E-. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I refuse that. I refute that. I'll not have it. Not for myself and not for any other writer. And that makes me an absolute writing heretic in every sense of the word. There is so much more I could say about that. So much more I could say about that. And I'm hoping that this channel will give me the opportunity to say some more on the topic. But for now, and in this context, people can say they don't like your writing. People can say that for them the grammar isn't good enough. People can say that seeing lots of spelling mistakes would break the flow of their reading and they don't like it. And that is their prerogative, absolutely 100%. Absolutely 100%. But for the writer, the artist, the creative writer, I'm really talking about real creative writing now. Not writing a training manual, not writing a blog post, not writing a marketing piece or a sales page. I am talking about real creative writing, where those magic doors of perception swing wide open and the artist enters into that space where they have their experiences and they use the modality of words to transmit that experience as best they can in their own voice. Well, that's it. I mean, really. Do you want to read what Tolkien has written, or what somebody who wasn't Tolkien deemed to be better for the stupid readers out there? Do you want to hear Tolkien's voice? Shakespeare. Do you want to hear Shakespeare's voice? Or do you want to hear the voice of somebody who was much less talented and decided what's better for the even more stupid readers out there? It's inconceivable to me. Of course I want to hear the artist's original voice. I even had a subdivision of my little publishing company back in the day called the author's voice, to allow people to published their poems and their stories unedited, to put the author, the writer, back in charge of their actual creation. Just as any artist would finally finish his painting or her painting and put their signature into the wet oil paint. That's it. This is my work of art. Here it is. And now I take that to the gallery, and nobody gets to daub other things on top of it to make that a statement, because this goes back to the writer. You know, if you're going at this as a writer, I'll just write some stuff and somebody who knows better than me will come along and edit it later. What the hell is that? What even is that? So I really do believe writers, creative writers, real creative writers, and friends, you know who you are out there, take responsibility for their writing, take it back from any kind of editor, any kind of proofreader, any kind of critic. Take it right back to yourself, the power to create this thing, and say, right, this is how I write. This is what I write. This is what I said. This is that word. I put that there. It may be for a reason. It may be a stress-induced mistake. It doesn't matter. It's still what I said, what I wanted there to be on the page. It's mine. So that then comes back to the creative writer to perhaps learn over time to make less spelling mistakes. Over time to notice if they get stressed or the flow is broken, to stop and, you know, not continue any further, because if you're in a bad state, you're going to be writing stress-riddled stuff. It's not really working as it should. Taking that responsibility back to create a work of art that is your own, your responsibility, and your voice at the end of the day. I'm going to say something about editing your own work later on at another point in space and time, because that's also something that comes into that. You know, some future aspect of you looks at the writing that you did and then behaves like that god-awful English teacher that my aspect encountered back in the day. Behaves just like that. Oh, that's not good enough. You shouldn't have said that. This is terrible. This is absolutely appalling. Stop it. Stop it with the editors. Take responsibility and write that which you want to say. One word at the time you're writing it. Drives me nuts to see this on Twitter in the writing community. First draft, and then I edit it. What the hell? You know, write your first draft to be what it is that you want to say. What it is that you want to transmit to other people. Get rid of the editor. Put down your words. Put your soul on the page. This is not what young writers are told to do. But this is my lived experience, and I wish more writers, creative writers, would do that, take that step, take their courage back, take that editing completely out of the equation. Don't even make it a possibility. Put your footprints in the sands of time, as it were. Draw your voice, your word, into the sands of time. And leave behind a body of work that evolves and where you can still hear the original voice of the aspect who wrote it. So that is my incredibly heretical approach to creative writing. And of course, once again, you absolutely have the right to completely disagree with me. and completely believe that great creative writing is achieved by other people criticizing you and telling you what not to do and giving you lists of 1,000 things you're never allowed to do in creative writing, or if you do, then you're crazy or stupid or too dumb to realize that you don't do that. It's not allowed. Ooh, God, that makes my blood boil. I have to sort of reconnect with the original aspect who had this ice-cold blue certainty, like holding up a sword of reason and saying to that English teacher, you can take your... teach me a lesson. Ah, you did teach me a lesson, you did. Oh, and I'm so glad I learned it at that age, that I had that experience. Because I know I'm right about this. I'm right about this. The current structures destroy creative writers, or make it so hard for them, when it never needed to have been that way. Perhaps a youngling might hear me and understand what I'm saying here. Take back your power over that which you create. Don't sit there and write something that is substandard in the belief or the fake safety net that some editor or you in the future will come along and somehow make it better. That's just not good enough to be a true creative writer. Write. Just write. The best you can. Oh, and that is such an extraordinary experience. In the end, it doesn't matter if anybody ever reads what you have written. That's being a creative writer. It's doing it for the experiences you have in that other realm. Everything else just a cherry on top of the cake. Yeah, so I am a heretical writer, and I wish there were more of us. There are so many stories remain to be told. So many wonderful experiences to be shared, so many insights that come when those doors open and you step into that other realm, and as a writer, write down your experiences into the sands of time. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you found some food for thought. I'd love to hear what you think in your comments. Lots of love. Be creative. Stand firm in yourself. Defend your creativity. Till the end of days. Lots of love, and bye for now.